Isn't he Mexican?
Colombian.
He calls himself American.
What is this?
Anchor Baby.
And in this corner, it's the American Anchor Baby.
Daddy's home.
That's an offensive term. People find that hurtful.
You mean it's not politically correct? Excuse me. I'll use the word anchor baby. You know, he's an anchor baby in Canada.
Tell him we still rolling with Trump, too.
Anchor baby, the whole thing sounds horrific. You're just making it sound like immigrants are these horrific, greedy people.
Ustedes pueden aceptar mi negocio o aceptar las consecuencias. Plata o plomo.
So you would be considered white, in my opinion.
You the blackest one in this room.
I think so.
And what happened was his mama got pregnant on the other side of the border. And then a few hours before, just before it was time for him to pop out, she jumped across the border and let him fall on American soil. So he became the anchor baby. They don't call him the anchor baby for nothing. Amazing.
We like this anchor baby, right?
Hello, welcome. Thank you for joining me. I'm the American Anchor Baby. This is my show. What's up, everybody? Happy Memorial Day. Do you say happy have a peaceful Memorial Day? How about that? Have a peaceful Memorial Day. We're going to get down, get into a couple of topics here. Should be pretty loose. The goose is loose. I got the hoodie on. I'm looking like a bum. Got the orange fit. I'm orange tic-tac out. In fact, it fits with the fit. So we orange today. Shout out Orange Tic Tacs. Let me put that right there. So you guys can see it. What is up? Okay. Oh, yeah, that's right. I did shave. Now I'm cold. I lost my thick skin. I grew up in Canada, had a thick skin with the cold. Now I don't. It's gone. Did you know that you lose your thick skin to the cold? If I ever had a thick skin. But anyways, we got a bit of a show. And like I said, it's going to be chill. It's going to be loose. But but thank you for Friday. Friday was great. We did another flight. We landed the plane. I know that is news. That's news that we landed the plane, but we landed the plane. No souls lost, no one dead. So you can turn in your cloning coupons for a free carry-on at the next flight. How about that? So thank you for flying Anchor Baby Airlines on Friday. That was fun. Make sure you're followed and subscribed to my YouTube channel here, to my Twitter, Gorgonzola. You can see the spelling up here. And, of course, my Rumble, rumble.com/American Anchor Baby. That way, you don't miss them. You don't miss a flight. So that's great. Thank you for that. Make sure you're subscribed. I feel like I had some more preamble for you, but I can't remember. But it was fun, so thank you for joining me. That was good on Friday. Moving on. Oh, yeah, you could call. You could call 888-775-3773. And if you'd rather listen to the show, you missed it, you want to listen to it, podcast, you like that functionality, you can podcast my show, I believe, on Spotify. At least you will at least be able to find it at americananchorbaby.substack.com. Let me double check that. americananchor.com. Yes, you can podcast my show by going to americananchorbaby.substack.com. Okay. So it's Poppy Day. Well, I don't know if you guys call it Poppy Day. I grew up in Canada, as some of you might know. I'm an anchor baby from Canada, by way of Canada. And they have Memorial Day, too. They have Memorial Day. It starts in July, though. It's July 1st. But it's the same. It's for the same reasons, to honor the fallen. And you guys know. You know this. You've seen the poppy as a symbol for Memorial Day. Let me see if I can even pull up what I'm looking at here. Because we have some snazzy tech, which I believe is working. So this will be a good test right here. Thanks for being guinea pigs. Let me switch to this and this. Oh, very snazzy. Yes, Flanders Fields. In Flanders Fields where the poppies grow. Hopefully you guys can still hear me while you see this on the screen. Oh, man. I'm fumbling. I'm fumbling the bag. Yeah, poppies. So, yeah, poppies, they're a sign of the Memorial Day. You know, it was started by women. Some emotional women saw the poppies and made it a worldwide thing. Shout out to those ladies who were honoring the fallen. You got to love them. Okay? Let me pull this back here and get into what I'm talking about as I fumble. Thanks for the patience. It's hard to see my mouse on this little screen. Oh, what a mess. Okay, so the poppies. We're talking about the poppies. And I remember growing up in Canada, and everyone wore the poppy. I don't know if that's a thing here in America. I've never seen it. But people wear them. You go to like any convenience store in Canada around Memorial Day, and you can give a loonie or a toonie. In Canada, they have $1 coins and $2 coins called loonies and toonies. And you could give a loonie or a toonie, you get a poppy, and you wear it. And show your, your Memorial Day pride. What am I saying here? The remembrance poppy, symbol of lives lost to war since World War I. Memorial Day poppies play a big part in the history of Memorial Day. And it was a field, okay? There was a field where they buried many soldiers. And it was a Canadian who made the poppy, who popularized the poppy as a symbol of the war casualties with his poem, In Flanders Fields. Anybody grow up with that? What's the big diff between the Canadians and the Americans? Did you guys grow up with Flanders Fields? In Flanders Fields where the poppies grow. See, this Canadian, John McCrae, Lieutenant Colonel John McCrae, he saw those bright red poppies blooming in the war-torn fields. And then some ladies, some women, 2 women in different countries, a University of Georgia professor, Moina Michael, and a French woman, Anna Guérin, popularized an inter-allied poppy day, where the poppy proliferated, became a symbol across all the allied, in many allied countries, where Memorial Days, they have their own the Memorial Days. I remember growing up with all that. I also remember I wore the poppy. I remember wearing it, not understanding it, but I saw everybody doing it. Then I understood it. And then I remember there was a bit of like grumbling and intergroup, interracial animus, because a lot of the immigrants who started coming into Canada refused to wear the poppy. And I remember I always found this quite funny. The Canadians would allow so much. They would be okay with so many things, people coming in, taking over, changing their neighborhoods, changing their country, but not wearing the poppy, that was too far. That was like one of the first times I heard Canadians actually grumble about, and I say grumble like I'm infantilizing it, but their grievances are, I understand them. But I remember they would be like, I can't believe they're not wearing the poppy. How are you not going to wear the poppy? You're in Canada. You come here, you enjoy the honey and milk, and you won't even wear the poppy. In Flanders Fields. So have a peaceful Memorial Day. And all this war stuff is just interesting to really look into it and see how things came about. These world wars that happened before our lifetimes, at least many of us. And the conflicts that came about. It's an interesting thing to reflect on. Nick, stop talking about Canada. Nobody wants to hear it. Okay. Yeah, we're doing this is an American Anchor Baby show. But see, that's the kind of the mess. That's kind of the mess of the name. American Anchor Baby from Canada with like illegal parody. What's going on here? It's the mess of the name. Shout out to my viewers on Rumble. They're nice. Thank you for being there. The few. Canadians, the canary in the coal mine. Okay, so you know what else is being remembered? Let me see if I can pull this up. You know who else they were remembering just the other day? Yesterday, in fact. You guys remember Harambe? I haven't heard of that guy. I haven't heard of Harambe in a long time. People were giving their tributes to the slain gorilla Harambe on the 7th anniversary of his death. It's been 7 years since that gorilla died. And if you guys remember that, this toddler fell into this Cincinnati zoo. And this 4-year-old boy fell. And it fell into the gorilla habitat, okay? This big gorilla goes up to the kid. I think, if I remember the video, it starts like dragging him around a little. If I remember correctly. Are we going to have to pull it up? Are we going to have to pull up the Harambe? Don't worry, we'll get into some real show here in a moment. You guys remember this? Hold on. See how I can do this. How can I do this? Tech world, help me out. Okay. Oh, yeah, snazzy. You guys remember this? Oh, no, it's probably going to play an ad. Oh, no. I'm advertising for these people now. So Harambe was this gorilla. And there's some conspiracies behind it. 2016, everything changed, right? After Harambe's death. Oh, yeah. It's all coming back to me. All the memories, they're coming back. And so Harambe, the slain gorilla. Let me see if I can bring this back to me. Hold on. They're also memorializing him. It was a him, right? Pronouns he, him. That was a him gorilla, right? Yes. Tributes pouring in. There you go. Now you can see me. 4-year-old boy fell, da-da-da. 7 years later, people across social media still remembered the animal. So what do people care about more, Harambe or Memorial Day? The 𝒔𝒐𝒄𝒊𝒂𝒍𝒔, a minor league AAA. Oh, I don't think a minor league team is going to be called the 𝒔𝒐𝒄𝒊𝒂𝒍𝒔. I think it's Stripers. Affiliate of the Atlanta Braves wrote online, the 𝒔𝒐𝒄𝒊𝒂𝒍𝒔 would like to take a moment to remember the life of a kind soul. Harambe tragically lost his life. And people were in an uproar back when the zookeepers shot and killed Harambe to protect the child, right? And that was a dividing moment in the country. There's been many, but that was one of them. Time split. There's an alive Harambe timeline. Yeah, Nada in the chat seems to know a little bit more of this, and this is silly. Okay, sorry, conspiracy theorists in the chat who want me to talk about real conspiracies, or you guys probably don't call them conspiracies, but we're talking about a silly one. And yeah, people say that the timeline's split, and we're living in the dead Harambe's timeline, where it's not nice. Okay, silly stuff. But on gorillas and animals and bear-like looking things, there was this. I came across this. This is still fitting the conspiracy thing here. Okay, still fitting the conspiracy thing here. I have a friend who swears that this is fake. Okay, and I just came across this on the Daily Mail. The world's only all-white panda is caught on camera. Albino is seen trying to interact with its black and white brethren. And I have a friend. He swears pandas are fake. Anybody also believe that? You guys believe pandas are fake? Harambe split the timeline. Michelle Obama's a man. Look, I love you guys. Conspiracy theorists, I love you guys. But you guys know about this? Anybody know about the panda? Anybody know about the panda question? Here's the albino panda in question. Some say pandas do not exist. They are an elaborate ruse to get people to fall in love with these cuddly black and white creatures. Are we going to get a photo of an actual panda? Come on, Daily Mail. No photo of a real panda. It's very suspect. Jeez. Welcome to American Anchor Baby, where we do the real topics. Okay, let me pull myself back up. There you go. Let's see if chat knows what I'm talking about here. Nick Stream, have you ever heard the theory that the Dark Ages never happened and they just skipped 300 years on the calendar? Nope, don't know about that one either. What's up, Stephen Absolution? Welcome. Thank you so much. JS, Lord Bibby, Kevin Howe, very nice. Okay. Conspiracies, guys. Hey, all sorts of information, very distracting. But speaking about, let's talk about something a little bit more real. How about this? Since we are talking about this is Asian, right? Pandas, Asian? Here's the stretch. Here's the segue, y'all. This is how you run a show. Here's the segue. Here's the stretch. Panda bear, Asian, Japan. Let's talk about Japan. Because I learned that homelessness in Japan has the smallest percentage of homeless people. The definition of let me see, here it is. Japan is the only country in the world with a homeless population rate of around 0%. Okay? From Nippon.com. Japan data. Is this biased data since it's coming from Nippon.com, which is Japanese for Japan? Nippon. Nihon. It's a exonym. Japan is an exonym, something that others call them. It's like Germany, as opposed to what they call themselves, Deutschland. Let me know if the stream is anything funny. I'm streaming at some new tech, streaming at a certain bit rate here. Let me know if any snafus, any issues. Hit me up in the chat. Let me know. So Japan has a practically 0% homeless rate. Although the homeless people in Japan today are victims of the financial crisis of 2008, it's all connected. Debt ceiling talks, the Fed. There was some talk about money on the Hague report. Very interesting stuff. The problem with homeless in this country dates back to the real estate bubble collapse of 1990. Unprecedented situation in post-World War II Japan. Oh, you don't see me live on Rumble? What the? It says I'm streaming here. It says I'm streaming. Sorry, Rumble viewers. Not sure what's going on. It says I'm streaming here. I'm going to toggle it on, toggle it off, toggle it on. And, yeah, because I don't see myself online either. No, I didn't see it either, Hake. Yeah. But thank you for keeping up with that, y'all. Appreciate it. Trying to keep the show going here. But anyways, Japan, post-World War II, homelessness. I'm reading a little bit of this article here. Although during this first wave, the Japanese government was not too diligent between 2018 and 2020, resulting in the number of homeless people in the country dropping by 12%. So they've dealt with their homelessness in different ways. But here's what I came to. Here's what I came across. I found quite interesting. The culture behind Japan and homelessness. And I'm sure we have we can have criticisms. We always have criticisms with countries and all that, and they have their own issues, right? Suicide rates. I hear about suicide rates in Japan and other things, but they have a different view on how they deal with homelessness in general, culturally, legally. Let me see if I can pull this up. That is quite interesting here. A little video here. It's a little video here from this person on YouTube named Dom. And I'm trying to pull it up here. Kind of fumbling here with this laptop. Hold on, y'all. Okay, click here, clicky. Bingo. Okay. And he's talking about the culture behind, the culture of Japan and how they view homelessness. Let me know in the chat if you guys can hear this video. This will be a good test as well.
non-profit organization that's supporting the homeless in Japan, there is no culture of compassion in Japan.
Right here.
And in the Japanese culture, it is incredibly stigmatized, mentioned as the cause of this extremely low rate. So first, being homeless is actually very difficult in Japan. And in the Japanese culture, it is incredibly stigmatized. According to a founder of a non-profit organization that's supporting the homeless in Japan, there is no culture of compassion for homeless people in the country. And they are usually seen as people who only have themselves to blame for their situation and who deserve no help at all. This is even stronger because the majority of homeless in Japan are men who are traditionally expected to be self-reliant, and their failure to do that is seen as an embarrassment, both by the
Here's how I made myself
Oh no, it's playing an ad.
Adobe
What
Premiere
the?
Pro. First thing I did was film 2 plays.
You guys were following though?
myself doing
the public and by themselves.
They were talking about the culture that they don't have that same culture that's trying to help and feel bad for the homeless and all these programs and services.
As a result, the authorities tend to make it harder to actually be homeless than in most countries. Any kind of begging in the public is banned by law. Homeless people tend to be pushed out of sight, and cities like Tokyo are known for implementing what's been called anti-homeless or hostile architecture.
Nice.
Like parks that are locked at night so that people can't sleep there, or benches and other city features that are specifically designed to make lying, sleeping, and prolonged sitting on them uncomfortable in order to discourage homeless people from staying in the area. And so making it both difficult and socially unacceptable
Japanese
to be homeless
architects versus the
contributes
homeless.
to the low rate, as it is something most people try to avoid at all costs.
And so I found that quite fascinating. Such a simple point, like not justifying, simply just not saying it's okay. Justifying someone's evil is enough to set up oh, nice. Video clip audio good? Very good. Simply not justify evil is enough to set up the right conditions for influencing things in a certain direction. You know what I'm saying? Like, the same way everybody's influenced by good or evil, God or Satan. It's not like, and it's like that word influence. It doesn't mean like instantly. It doesn't give me the impression of forcing, but simply it just gives me the impression of the word influence of a direction. Okay? You just have to set things up and let things flow to the proper direction. You know what I'm saying? So I found that quite interesting about Japan, okay? And they go on and they describe what the homeless people there are like, and they try to avoid looking homeless as much as possible, always trying to shave. For some, there's a culture of 24-hour computer cafes, internet cafes in Japan. And for some, the internet cafe industry also has like an underground market, because you rent these little cubicles with an internet, with a computer, so you can use the internet, and it's a private little cubicle. The door closes, and you purchase it. You rent it for a couple hours. So there's a underground kind of industry in the internet cafes where homeless Japanese men, usually men, end up renting these out for a night and sleep. They sleep in these cubicles. They're essentially homeless, but they try to maintain, they shave. They don't want to look homeless because it's frowned upon. You know what I'm saying? Just some interesting stuff here. Talking about Japan on Memorial Day. Jeez. Okay. But there was something else here about this. What was it? My notes. You should see my notes. Like I said, loosey goosey. But, I mean, I just found that interesting. Like, we pay the price for the mismanagement of the country when we see that it's possible and like just quite doable and possible to fix a lot of these things. When it's the impression and the general kind of impression of the government here is that things are slow, and I'm sure many things are slow. It's a process to get things done, but it's like a total just bureaucracy, red tape. Everything's frozen up in regulations. In fact, it was even in this video where this guy's talking about the just how little building regulations there are in Japan, which allow the building of many new buildings cheaply, residence at homes, to deal with bring down the prices of housing and all that. Sounds like the opposite of here. Sounds like the opposite of what they're doing with the power grid. We're getting warnings of incoming blackouts. Two-thirds of the American power grid is the U.S. electric grid. There's warnings here. Wall Street Journal article. Warning of the summer of blackouts. 2/3 of the U.S. risks electricity outages. And we've seen a couple years of the Biden administration going all in with the green energy, getting rid of the pipeline like right away as soon as he came into office. And it's been a spiral of inflation and power issues since. Like, why is it the people versus why is it it's like everyone against the people? The government, the companies are against this. It's been this week, couple weeks of company after company after the people. Bud Light, Target. They're trying to groom the kids. They're trying to push transgenderism. It's like in every direction where it's an onslaught for the decent, for the Christians, even the fake Christians, Americans, white people. For those, it's like an onslaught from every direction. Now, maybe it just seems like that because of the news lately, but it seems like a lot of these companies have been like this for quite a while. And by this, I mean pushing degeneracy and all the things that conservatives are mad about these past few weeks with these companies going woke. Target, Dodgers, just mess. But like I said, it's been years. I don't think it's that new with these companies. I mean, it just feels like this is the latest thing. This is what they're up to. Pushing degeneracy. Target partners with organization pushing for kids' genders to be secretly changed in schools without parental consent. It's a Fox News article here. I'm not going to fumble with the computer just to show you this. But this organization that Fox is reporting on that Target has been partnered with this organization that's pushing for genders to be changed in schools, etc., for like 10 years, a decade. So it's been like this. Target Corporation partnered with the K-12 education group, which focuses on getting districts to adopt policies that will keep parents in the dark on their child's in-school gender transition. So you could avoid going to Target. Sure, you could do that. I don't even think that's such a bad idea, right? It's your money. It's your country. Show them what you're okay with or you're not okay with your money. But you could avoid taking your kids to Target all you want. They can't. No, don't look. You can't look at the tuck-friendly bathing suits. You might get transgendered, which is kind of a silly notion too. There's a lot of evil in the world. Can't protect them always. Maybe the best protection is raising them without anger. But you could do that. You could be like, no, I'm not going to Target. I can't let my kids see the tuck-friendly bathing suit. It's almost gross to even say that. But, they're still in the school. They're still in the schools that you sent them to with these organizations, with Target Corporation money, pushing anti-racist spaces for LGBTQ students. This organization is called GLSEN, Gelson. Might as well be NAMBLA. Gliston. Oh. Hake knows. It's pronounced Gliston. Hake knows. Might as well be called Nambla. Am I getting it correct? Yeah, Nambla. I don't even want to tell you what Nambla stands for. What a mess. What a mess. So, kind of tangent there. Let me get back on track here. Oh, you know what? Like I said, loosey goosey show. I have to go completely side note here. Although I'm done with the targets. I'm done with all that. So it's not so much of a side note, but I just remembered what I was thinking about on the Hake Report. Awesome episode there with Big Bump. You guys got to check it if you oh, I said glisten. But anyways, check out that Hake Report episode. Big Bump co-host there, very good, very, very nice episode. And they were talking about Ted Bundy a little bit. Serial killer guy. American serial killer, American anchor baby. Just reading the Wikipedia here, who kidnapped and murdered numerous young women in the 1970s. Very nice episode of the Hake Report. You guys got to check it out. But I was reminded of something I learned about Ted Bundy that I found interesting. Was Ted Bundy's grandparents, Samuel Necht Cowell and Eleanor Miriam Cowell. So they raised Ted Bundy as their son after Ted Bundy was born out of wedlock. He was born out of wedlock. And so there was that mess. Broken. Bundy would grow up and later find out how he was born out of wedlock. He didn't know his father. He found that out himself. He would talk about how he resented his mother for never telling him the truth. All very interesting. But there was reports of the grandparents, okay, that raised him, or at least partly raised him. And stories started coming out that Samuel Cowell, the grandfather, was just like would beat his grandma, his little quiet grandma, that despite Bundy speaking warmly of his grandparents, it started questions about how the grandparents raised them. Started coming into question. I'm trying to pull it up now to get you the real quote, but they basically were saying, here. This neighbor started describing him as a person who liked to terrify people, who would go into fits of rage. He's a tyrannical bully. Oh, yeah, they even said about the grandfather that he beat his wife and dog. Not the dog. He beat his wife and his dog. Too far. Way too far for many Americans. And he exhibited bigotry, including religious intolerance, racism, and xenophobia. Yeah. Bigot grandfather? No surprise that Ted Bundy turned out like that. It's pretty much the vibe and impression of these people who said that about his grandparents. But to get to what I'm getting at here, that whole report of his grandfather being that way came into question when many other neighbors and other people, through the investigation, locals, all remembered Samuel Cowell as a fine man, eccentric, but no reports of ever him being violent or anything. And I realized just how people, to try and come up with an explanation on how Ted Bundy ended up being Ted Bundy, they had to. And now I don't really know, because I don't know the grandfather and I don't really know. So I got to put that little asterisk there. But it seems like they really needed to explain, to have an explanation of what happened to Ted. It's like, well, who raised him? And they had to create a story on how he was raised by, a violent, bigoted, racist, xenophobe. And I realized people's need for explanation on things that are quite simple. And what I mean is they needed something extreme like that, an extreme story of a violent grandfather to explain Ted when you see what I'm saying here? Like, they needed that because just being raised by seemingly normal people is just not enough of an explanation. Now, others, intellectuals, they'll say, oh, it's mental health. He had a chemical imbalance or whatever. But others, especially around this time, they didn't go with all that. They say, well, no, it's like, how was he raised? What was wrong with his heart, his spirit, his mind, and his mental state, and a little bit more common sense. And they have to come up with an explanation for me, I thought it was quite deep because to me, it showed me that, number one, being raised by having anger, for example, missing a father, being raised with angry grandparents, angry parents who, as many of you may know, anger isn't always like violent and throwing stuff around. Anger is fear. Anger is weakness. Anger is being emotional, placating, being super nice. I realized that's extreme. You don't need to be this violent, so-called bigoted person who beats his wife and dog to cause for Ted Bundy to come about. That is extreme. Having anger is extreme. And people need these explanations to justify and explain what happened there. Because it's easier to do that than than realize, wow, everybody's 2 hoops and a holla away from Jeffrey Dahmer. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, if his grandparents are sort of normal, I was raised by sort of normal grandparents. We were all raised by sort of normal parents, at least most people. Mostly decent. I talk about forgiving my mother. And that makes it sound like she was this mean, yelling person. But my mother was a very decent lady. What's up with these? I keep seeing these F towers. I'm going to deal with that in chat in a second because I don't know what you guys are doing in chat. But, I was talking about my mother, about forgiving her. She was a decent lady, very nice growing up. Very nice. And, but you see my point here? It's like easier to go to the extreme than to examine the life around you, the people around you, that they're really just as messed up. Quite interesting stuff on the Hake Report today. Check it out. Okay? You know what? Since we were talking about the onslaught of these, companies, the onslaught of the corporations and the government and atheists, they've all gotten together. And like I said, it seems like it's really drumming up recently, but it's been going on, really. Let's be real. But since we did talk about that, why does everything seem gay? Everything seems gay. These companies, all this. And I did a little show on this recently. Trying to explain the motivations of companies like Anheuser-Busch, Target and stuff. And I showed some, interesting parallels between Soviet-era economic policies and today, and how these companies try and get in bed with regulatory agencies, and what these regulatory agencies, they're basically the gatekeepers to big company acquisitions for when companies merge and big buyouts and stuff. Regulatory agencies in the country are involved, so if you got to be close with them if you want to make the big money, the monopoly money. You know what I mean? Anheuser-Busch, 50% of all beer, like that's crazy. And so I did a show on that recently, and how these regulatory agencies, they have that, they're the gatekeepers of that, but the gatekeepers are gay. They're all like infiltrated with this DEI, human rights, love is love, all love is love, gayness. And there's an interesting thread that recently came out with kind of like a bigger breakdown on this. Epic thread, an epic thread. Who says epic anymore? Epic thread goes down the gay rabbit hole, explaining why Target and others are going woke and broke. I say that kind of, I used to say that kind of cringy, but it's kind of happening, no? Shout out to the conservatives. They don't want to buy this stuff anymore. But why is everything gay? Buckle up, we're going down the gay rabbit hole, says the red-headed libertarian on Twitter. The Corporate Equality Index. See, I spoke about this on that show I just mentioned. So, red-headed libertarian, thanks for watching The American Anchor Baby. I do appreciate that. Can you give me a shout-out, please? I'm not the first to say this. I'm not the first at all, so that's a joke. But the Corporate Equality Index, a woke credit score, judges companies based on how many woke issues they're pushing. Okay? The Human Rights Campaign. See, they're catching up. They're catching up. I was talking about all this. The Human Rights Campaign sends lobbyists to companies and gives them a list of demands. And if they don't comply with these demands, investors put pressure on the boards, activists are mobilized, advertising campaigns are shut down, and anyone who continues to do business with the poorly scored company will also be penalized. Who's funding the Human Rights Campaign? The Open Society Foundation. Isn't that... Whoa. Wait a second. Who runs the Open Society Foundation? Isn't that our old pal? Isn't that our best friend? I don't want to be anti-Semitic by just simply invoking the name of George Soros. But yes, Open Society Foundation, that's George Soros. Why is it? The name keeps popping up. Okay. Essentially, if you don't get a good score, your business gets big time penalized, okay? Penalized? Uh-oh. Am I saying that word funny? Incredible. Open Society Foundation, Planned Parenthood Federation of America, all the usual suspects, and the National Education Association. The NEA, National Education Association. And I believe the head of the National Education Association is a black woman, which I remember reporting on the JLP show. If you remember, let me see if I can pull her up. Becky Pringle. This and her ilk are the people behind, are the intellectual dark web of people laying down the groundwork, the philosophical groundwork for this like woke company onslaught. Okay, you guys remember Becky Pringle? We love Becky Pringle, right? She became the president of the National Education Association, putting in the final nail in the coffin, as if there wasn't already, in the whole educational system. Jeez, what a freaking mess with all that. It's just indoctrination station, like, and the parents send them on. Independent, the parents happily send them in. So, nice thread, red-headed libertarian, 7.1 million views. Are we red-pilling people? Very nice. The red-headed libertarian. 7 million views. It does seem like Twitter is just the place to be. Just don't do a first of its kind live stream Twitter Spaces for your presidential announcement. Maybe don't do that. Okay? Talking about Ron DeSantis there. Doing a little swipe to Ron DeSantis. Hey, Trump War Room, you want to fund me? I'll keep swiping. What else about this, though? Let me just finish it off here. Oh, man. Have you guys heard of this drag queen nuns? These drag queen nuns with the Dodgers? It's gross. There's this group. I don't really want to get too into it. I'm not gonna report on this, but I do have to mention this very degenerate group known as the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence. Okay, and it's these men who dress up in drag, and they're like nuns, and it's obviously a big old joke to the Christians. It's a big old finger to the Christians, you know, and they think they're cute. They think it's like like we're free. We're no religion, no God is gonna tell us what to do. And you're seeing an image of that. This is the safest image. I won't go any. I'm not gonna traumatize you and show you more. Oh, hold on here. But I have to comment on that. So basically, I guess since I'm talking about it, I should report a little bit. But basically, the Dodgers invited these Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence, and they gave them a whole, like a big like, rah. At a time when LGBTQ rights are under attack, and that whole thing basically, as a way of support. Okay. And so that's what happened, and there's some uproar. Why are the Los Angeles Dodgers? Why did they honor the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence? What is this? They're grooming our children, mockery of Catholics, etc. But that name, I had to comment on that name. Like, could you get more obscene than a name like the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence? Like, think about that. That's just, it seems very technical, and these big long words, and they're not saying any cuss words, and it's not. But I think a name full of cuss words would be better, would be easier on the ears than a name as obscene as Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence. Like, you can't get more disgusting. The brothers of forever orgies. Oh, can I say that? Is that too gross for 12:48 p.m.? Y'all eating lunch? My bad. That's basically what they're saying. I just had to comment on the name. Like, language and names and words, they can be quite confusing and very surreptitious and hiding true meanings. You know what I mean? What's the word I'm looking for here? Euphemisms. Everything's a euphemism, trying to soften everything. Soften how bad things are, or letting you live longer and wronger. Shout out Hake. I do like that term. But yeah, it's just an onslaught. It's just an onslaught in all directions. But I don't know if we should be, reacting and fighting back. I'm seeing more and more. I'm seeing more and more how of fighting it is perpetuating it. Okay? But the companies, man, it's just the companies, the corporations. Here's another one. I'm trying to segue here, okay? I'm stretching it. I'm saying corporations, the corporations. Look at this corporation. I'm trying to segue to another story here. King of the segues. But in case you were interested, in case some of you may have come across this story, and I had it in the back burner because I wondered, what's the story behind this? About that dead body in the Arby's freezer. You hear about that? They found a dead body in an Arby's freezer. Okay, anybody, look, any claustrophobes? Okay, anybody scared of dying, freezing to death? Well, this story will get you going a little bit. But if you remember this recent story about the dead body at the freezer in Arby's fast food, well, we got the story on why that even happened. The family of a Louisiana Arby's manager who froze to death in a walk-in freezer is now suing the fast food giant over claims that employees had complained the latch was broken on the door. Nuyet Lee, 63, was alone in the restaurant around 9 a.m. on May 11th, preparing for the store's opening when she became trapped inside the food cooler. That's freaky. I've worked in restaurants, worked in many freezers. I always thought to myself, intrusive thoughts, Satan, obviously. Oh my God, I hope you don't get trapped in here. I always heard about stories of people who die frozen to death. They, at the last moments, they take off all their clothes because it feels like a burning sensation, but they're just dying. Her son, who also works at the Arby's, made the horrifying discovery. New Iberia police. What the heck is New Iberia? It's a city in Louisiana. Huh. New Iberia. I'm genetically from the Iberian Peninsula, so. But like back to the story. New Iberia police said there was bloodstains on the doors, which showed that she was trying to escape. Eventually collapsed into a fetal position. So it was a broken latch, y'all. That's what happened. And this Nguyen Ly, sounds like maybe a Vietnamese grandma, succumbed. It's pretty horrific. But I did mention this. I believe I mentioned this a little bit, so I had to give you guys the update. They're calling for a formal investigation into the alleged freezer malfunctions. All right, y'all. So watch out at work. Like, I don't think you could just have trust of stuff around you. Okay, keep a like vigilant mind, a vigilant eye on what's going on around you, because things aren't working properly. Things are kind of falling apart. Former male employee who did not want to identify said he worked multiple orders, submitted multiple work orders to fix the broken latch. They were using a screwdriver to get in and out. They were propping the freezer door open with bottles of oil because they didn't want it to close all the way. Wow. So rest in peace. Rest in peace. Sorry about that. Spicy. Hopefully you're still eating lunch and not grossed out. Okay? How hard is it to put a latch on the inside door? Yeah, Rusty. It was broken. Yeah, exactly. It was a broken latch. But still, I mean, it's a door. Like, can you make it so that in an emergency you can open it? Like, what's going on here? Very cool. Stephen Absolution in the chat says, Nick, motorcycle chariots. I think he's shouting out an older Nick Stream episode where we covered these chariot races with motorcycles. Very, very cool. You gotta love white people. That is next level. You gotta check out that episode. Shout out, thanks Stephen Absolution for that. We have fun on Nick Stream on Fridays. So what is it that you guys are doing in the chat here? What's up with these? Because you guys aren't doing N-word towers. You guys aren't doing G-word towers. You guys aren't even doing A-word towers. The A-word is anchor baby, by the way. I gave out a A-word pass at church yesterday. Nice young lady came to church, and I was introduced, of course, as the anchor baby, but she didn't want to say it. She was like, "Oh, you're I'm like, "You could say it. Go ahead, you could say it. You could say the A-word." And I gave her an A-word pass right then and there. She was a little embarrassed to say anchor baby. Guys, I came up with that. That was my idea. Don't feel bad. What the heck? I get that like all the time. Anchor baby with a hard R. Yep. It's an A-word pass. You can say it all you want. Everybody here, all viewers here, of course, have A-word passes. Obviously. But, yeah, people don't want to say that. Don't want to offend. I get that all the time. They're like, Nick, doesn't that offend you? No. But what are you guys doing here? What is this tower of letters you guys are doing? Faith. Oh, that's cute. You guys are just doing faith towers? That's Christian. That's wholesome. Right on. Oh, it's a female name. Oh, never mind. I thought you guys were being wholesome. I thought you guys were building F-word towers. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, N-word tower, A-word tower, and it's like a internet joke chat thing. And wherever there's a chat, wherever there's a live chat, if you're watching anything with a live chat, such as my show, if there's not any proper moderation of hooligans in the chat, they might start what's called the N-word tower. I'm sure you heard this explained on the Hate Report, but basically someone starts with an N, the next person puts the I, the next person puts a G. And so you guys are talking about a woman called Faith? I thought a woman named Faith. Are you guys simping? I thought it was like a faith tower. Like, no, we're not going to do N-word towers. We're going to do faith towers because we're Christians. That's what I thought. Jeez. Y'all need Jesus. Who's Faith? Anyways. Who even is that? Okay, check this video out. This is a bit of a white pill, if you will. And of course, if you don't know, white pills is the opposite of a black pill. I don't believe in black pills. I'm a Christian, okay? Black pill meaning no hope. But a bit of a white pill. We were just talking about the onslaught of gay coming in from the companies, the easterly winds of the corporations of gay, the westerly winds of the government, of the gay government. It's coming down from different directions. Well, these kids in Quebec students tear down, trample school pride flag in protest of LGBT agenda. Is this a white flag? I mean, is this a white pill? Are the kids in fact all right? They say they're not all right. They may be, in fact, maybe okay. Now, I don't know if they're okay. It feels like we may have let down the Zoomers the way the millennials were let down, the way the ones before them were let down. It kind of feels like that. But maybe this is a good sign. They're not with it. They're not with woke, with the woke. Let me pull it up here. Let's watch this beautiful beam footage. I have to say, it's not mine. Beautiful beam footage, that's from Tommy Sotomayor. I'm stealing that. I'm doing thievery. Anchor baby thievery, just like an anchor baby. But these Quebec students in Canada, in Flanders Field where poppies grow. I should do the Flanders Field poem in Trump's voice. But these students, they're not down. They're not going to do it. They're not going to take it no mo. Flag. I like that they blurred out the kids' faces. You never know in this world. Dox them, cancel them. And they're just starting their lives out, high school. Based French Canadians? Oh, is that a swear? Apologies. Blah, blah, blah. Let me yell over it so you don't hear any more. I think that was a swear. I did not bleep it. Based? Are the kids all right? Now, the French Canadians, they've always been a little bit more based. Okay? They have a little bit more of a, what's it called? What do some people call it? They call it like, whites need to develop a racial identity or something like that. Now, I don't know if that's what they need to do. But the French Canadians were always a little bit more averse to immigration. They have the whole separatist movement where the French Canadians in Quebec, they want to separate from Canada and be like their own country. There's like the pure laine movement, purebred movement in French. All the white nationalists, and I don't say that with a hint of derision or whatever, but all the white nationalists are in Quebec. Let's be real. Oh, the white nationalists, the people who want to keep Canada, they're in Quebec. Now they're elsewhere as well, but the ones in Quebec are the ones who, like I said, they have the pure laine movement. They want to keep Canada. They wanted to keep Quebec French. They say no, we want people to speak French, and sometimes that's a little bit of coded language, as in white, because they don't want a bunch of Haitians. Okay, we want to keep everything French, but not like that, not that kind of French. The States United, you are starting to come our way. Yeah, Quebec is based. You didn't know that, Rusty? At least some. Compared to Canada at large, when you compare like that, yeah, the Quebec, the people in Quebec, they want to keep the language, they want to keep the culture. And of course, the subtext of race. They don't want the French Haitians. keep Quebec French, not that kind of French. Yeah. So right on, Quebec high school. Not gonna take it no more. What else do I gotta say about this? What's the news saying about the Quebec students? Crowd of students recently protesting the LGBT agenda in a Quebec school tore down and trampled a rainbow pride flag. Last week, a group of teenagers from the Chien Bleu secondary school in Pincourt. Is there a French way of saying that? Pincourt, Quebec. Cheered as one of their fellow students tore down a flag representing the LGBT agenda, supporting the act of defiance by trampling the flag once it was no longer flying. Oh my God. Did they strike fear in the hearts of their LGBT peers and students? Because that's not the point, right? It's not about fear. This movement is about love. That's not who you are. And you can overcome it. And you can join us on the side of normalcy and common sense. 51-second video clip circulated by Neo Media shows a crowd of over 100 students protesting on the lower level of the school while their classmates tore down the flag. Incident took place May 16th, one day before the 2023 International Day Against Homophobia, Biphobia, and Transphobia. I've literally never heard of biphobia. Homophobia, biphobia, transphobia. School officials, media reports have framed the protest as an unfortunate event, with the school principal saying she was disappointed over the so-called attack on gender-confused students. I don't know who... LifeSite News doesn't make it clear if the principal believes they're gender-confused students or if that's just what LifeSite News is calling them. Pretty sure it's just LifeSite News. Another LGBT advocate expressed that the number of students rejecting the ideology is only increasing, citing a rise in protests over LGBT indoctrination. So it's like people don't want it. At least some. It seems like it. Please disregard that everyone in a position of authority in Canada has a French-Canadian surname. Amazing. Okay. If I may steal that. Do we get A-word? Do we get amazing passes because we're on the JLP network? We just get to say amazing without it being a totally biting JLP. It's just a shout out to the network, okay? Amazing. Okay. What else do I got for y'all? Ooh. You heard about this? Let's do this. Have you heard of Christopher Wright? I had this story on the back burner, hoping more information would come out. Let me close all these tabs. So, there was this father in Maryland who died. Sickening moment. Maryland father was fatally body slammed and repeatedly punched in head outside his home while protecting son 14 from high school bullies. Now we've gotten some more info and it looks like he threw the first punch, okay? It looks like he may have thrown the first punch, but here's the details. Let's get into the details a little bit because basically a father... Sorry, Rumble. It doesn't seem to be working. I'll have to look into it. Anybody who's trying to watch on Rumble. I won't mess with it in case... Oh, never mind. It's working. It's working. Back to the story. So, basically a dad of 3, father of 3. The story went that he was trying to defend his son from these bullies who followed his son home to his home, where they lived in Maryland. And the story was that these bullies were trying to fight the 14-year-old. The father came out to defend the 14-year-old, telling the bullies he's not going to fight. And the story goes that these bullies who were young, they were like minors, but they were accompanied by 2 adults. They said, well, if your son's not going to fight, we're going to fight you. And so they did. And Christopher Wright ended up losing his life, okay? I'm going to try and pull it up for you here in a moment. And so I kept this story in the background, like, okay, are we going to get some footage? Are we going to see who the assailants were? Because that's a pretty wild story. And it was this little Daily Mail headline. It wasn't a big headline. It was a buried headline. If you ever scroll down Daily Mail, they got the big ones, they got the medium ones, and then they got the little headlines. And sometimes they get buried. They're usually not that important, or just like a human interest story. It's not political. But you would think a story such as this would get more attention. A father beat to death. Now we know more details. It's not quite that, but at the onset, beat to death when these bullies who were there to fight his son, he told him that it's not going to go down like that. Well, now horrifying surveillance footage has captured the moment a Maryland father was body slammed to the ground and repeatedly punched in the head, causing a fatal brain injury as his 12-year-old son watched on helplessly. Christopher Wright, 43, was viciously beaten to death on his doorstep by 5 bullies after being dragged into the fight involving his son Trenton, 14. That started at Brooklyn Park Middle School before moving to his house in Baltimore, Maryland. Trenton has been in multiple fights over the course of the week, one of which was over $30 another boy said he stole from his girlfriend. And so now we get a better picture. The boy was in multiple fights. Was dealing with multiple conflicts at school, okay? One of them being that Trenton, the Christopher Wright's son, he said that these bullies stole $30 from his girlfriend, so he went to defend her. And so that was one of multiple incidents at school. Young 14-year-old Trenton, maybe a bit of a scrapper, not sure. Maybe it's that he's a bit of a scrapper. Maybe he's in a school where he gets a lot of conflict. Like, many questions started to arise for me, okay? Questions that I had to have a little bit of space with and not take sides on because of how easy it is to do that. But the questions were like, well, what kind of school does he go to? Like, I couldn't help but ask, is it a black school? Is he a scrapper? He's got issues, or is he faced with a lot of conflict? Because as maybe some of you don't know, when white kids go to a predominantly black school, it's not sweet. It ain't sweet. It's not nice. Okay? It's not a fun time. So I was wondering what Trenton was going through. His father was not married to his mother. She was his fiance. They were going to be married. But, Trenton is 14 years old. Who knows how family life was like at home? But now footage obtained by the Daily Mail shows the group approaching Wright's home to initiate a fight after the father threw the first punch. Now, that's a detail that's kind of being thrown around right now. Oh, well, he threw the first punch. Let me know what you guys think. When someone gets in your face, now I'm not a violent person. I'm not a person who starts fights. Been in a couple scraps. They were schoolyard scraps, one in high school. And, a couple later, they weren't real fights, but, a couple later as I grew a little older. And you know how the bars are. They're a little messy. Don't be drinking alcohol, okay? But I'm not a violent person. I don't go around, words to me don't equal violence, okay? They don't necessarily equal it's time to fight. But tell me what you guys think. Someone who comes up to your face and gets into your face and gets into your personal space, in my opinion, is an aggressive tactic, okay? Now, you have to be in the situation. Wait till you're in the situation in all things. You must wait until you're in the situation for all things. You can't plan ahead and be like, if someone got into my face, I'll punch him. Because then you will react and act in the wrong way. That being said, though, a group coming up to your home, threatening your son, that may be the first punch. I think even legally, in some cases, in some places, it could be seen as the first punch, quote unquote, the first strike, the first, it's an aggressive move. It's a what's it called? you know, it's an affront on my personal space, threatening my safety. So it's not just, you know, because that's being thrown around right now. He threw the first punch, but it's not that simple, okay? Not every conflict is that cut and dry like that. I think you guys know what I'm saying here, right? The attackers, comprising of 3 teenagers and 2 adults, which the 2 adults were family to at least 1 or 2 of these 3 teenagers, okay? So they were family members. They then continued to punch Wright, who was already unconscious and bleeding out. Incredible. Let me see. What else do we got here? In the clip, the attackers are met with the dad in a standoff. Wright, wearing a white T-shirt, is seen pointing to his left. The dad then retreats back before... throwing a punch at a man in a black T-shirt, the dad retreats back, heading towards his home as the swarm of attackers push forward and begin beating him. It's just emblematic of the anger in the country. You guys know that already. Nothing groundbreaking there. But you would think it would get a little more attention. Let me see if I could pull up. Not the video. I'm not going to do that. But pull up, Christopher Wright. There's the family. Believe that's the fiance. Christopher, the dad, and the 3 children. It's hard to see from here. Are they all boys? Is it all boys? I'm going to have to pull it back to me so I can look at it. It looks like 3 boys. Right on. It looks like 3 boys. Alpha male. Okay. We'll see what happens with that. Like, it feels like the like the instant vibe is like, what race? What were those black teens? Which I think is a fair question. I honestly do. But like I said, have some space, because if you don't, you're going to get angry. Hake disavows anything that may strike his channel. Maybe I should do the same. Yeah, the story. That's the story, I believe. Christopher Wright. Give me a second here. If there's any updates on that, give you the update right here live. Maryland cops, no suspect in the death of father beat. Wow. Heartbroken fiance. I believe there was a comment from the fiance here. 𝒏𝒊𝒄𝒌𝒔𝒕𝒓𝒆𝒂𝒎. Was there a comment from her that was interesting? No. Okay, so moving on. That's the story, Christopher Wright. Listen, it's wild out there. It's wild out there. Maybe fighting is not always, you know, there's I understand defending yourself and all that, but maybe fighting is not always the course of action, right? I mean, I've had some callers on the show talk about how they would not allow being disrespected. There was that clip not too long ago of that woman in the subway in New York, and this black father came in with his sons. They got on the train, and this guy he comes on the train, he's already mad. Okay, and that was the caption of this video that had gone viral back then. This guy comes in and he's already mad. And this woman on the train tells him to take I don't even think she said it to him. She just said it in general to her husband, who she was on the train with. And she said that guy needs to take a chill pill. That man overheard, or that man's kids overheard and told the father, who then proceeded to get into this woman's face and say, "What are you saying? You say it to my face." And she does. This guy who's crazy, mad, going up in her face, all up in her area, all up in her grill. and she's yelling. She's like, "Yeah, say it to my face." And she does. Brazenly, she looks him in the eye and says, "You need to take a chill pill." And she punches her. You guys remember the video I'm talking about? He punches her in the face. And the whole thing at the time was this guy, or the husband or boyfriend or whatever, did nothing. Did nothing. They're like, "Wow, what a loser, what a beta, simp. You should protect your woman." And to tie it back to what I'm talking about here, fighting might not be the course of action these days. Yes, yes, that man has no right to be laying hands on any woman for words. It's just words. You can't just do that to someone for saying things that you don't like, even if it's like crazy, even if it's the N-word. But people are crazy. You're risking your life defending honor these days, defending, and I'm not saying that it shouldn't be something defended. I mean, people can't be you can't be punching people over words, but if there's a point here that I'm saying, it's that it's you're risking your life defending those things, defending your identity, defending your honor, your this notion you have of you can't be disrespected in public or whatever. So defend yourself and all that, but have some awareness because you're risking your life now. You feel me? I don't know what apparently Trenton is feeling very guilty, according to the dailymail.com article. His 14-year-old son is feeling very, very guilty, saying it's his fault. It's his fault that his father's dead. But I think it's quite obvious to all of us. It's quite clear that the anger of that group is nobody's fault but their own. I know we're seeing it from far away, bird's eye view. And when you're in it, like Trenton, 14 years old, that self-condemnation in the mind and that guilt, we can all hear it now, right? We all know how Satan speaks. We can all hear it now. Satan speaking in the mind. But because we have some space, we're over here hearing the story from far away, I think it's obvious, it's clear to us that it's not Trenton's fault. He's responsible, or will be responsible, at least when he's 18, for his own anger, his own issues. But that group, that wild group, wildin', maybe they were wildin'. If they were a white teens, they were a rowdy bunch. If they were a black group, they were wildin'. Remains to be seen. But either way, they're responsible for their own anger, right? Okay. What else do I got for y'all? Let's see here. Guys, I kind of like the loosey-goosey. Style. Thank you for the super chat. What kind of name is that? Schling Schlong Lama Dama Ding Dong. Thank you for the super chat. Says no fight, Second Amendments. Everywhere I go, I bring my 2A. I don't. I live in Los Angeles. So that's a lie. But thank you for the super chat. I do appreciate it. Are there other ones? Let me make sure I didn't miss anything here. Because it feels like that's the show, y'all. That's like everything I've been working on, like kind of was on my mind. Anything to show you here. Very loosey-goosey, but I definitely, I kind of like the style a little bit. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know what y'all think. Thank you so much for the super chats, everybody, and the support. It really feels like that's all I had to say today. I kind of went off there. Let me look through my notes here. Do I got more show for y'all? That's the show, guys. That's the show. That's all I had for you. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what you guys think about the loose style. And join me for sure. Make sure you join me tomorrow, 12 o'clock. More Anchor Baby. More American Anchor Baby. Make sure you follow me, subscribe to me so that you don't miss any flights. And of course, subscribe, follow everyone on the network. We got Joel tomorrow. We obviously have Joel tomorrow, so you don't want to miss that. But yes, thank you. In Flanders Field, the poppies blow. Between the crosses, row on row. the mark of our place, and in the sky, the larks still bravely singing fly. A little bit of Flanders Field in Trump's voice. Okay, y'all. Enjoy the rest of your Memorial Day. Have a peaceful Memorial Day. Hit me up tomorrow. We're going to get down at 12 o'clock as we do. But otherwise, I wish you well. Take care. Oh, hold on. Take care.